While the business model canvas is an important tool for startups, however, it happens that sometimes the business model canvas shows some possible flaws. And the reason is that there could be some underlying reason why the business model canvas does not answer the needs of a startup owner. So we need to be aware when we can use a business model canvas and when it's not appropriate to use it or it's not enough to really define the venture creation. In order to avoid mistakes, what we are going to touch on in this video are the two fatal flaws for a business model canvas that will make a business model canvas untenable. And besides, we are going to learn the major components of a business model canvas, which will help us clarify the purpose, the strategy, the objective of a business model canvas. But let's take a look first at the fatal flaws. So what could be the two fatal flaws of a business model canvas? So one is a complete misread of a customer. This is very typical case, and often entrepreneurs miss out this very point. The knowledge of the market, the feedback from the market, the perspective of potential users. Often an entrepreneur is really in love with his or her own idea and would like to really create their business, and they lack experience, they lack understanding, they lack knowledge in the market. There are ways to overcome this. There are ways to gauge rapidly feedback from the market. This strategy is called the prototype strategy. A champion of this strategy is Alberto Savoia, so you can look him up. He wrote extensively on how to use the prototype strategy as a way to get cheap, fast feedback, which are more valid than ideas. His strong proposition is avoid ideas. Don't get ideas from the market. You need to get feedback because ideas are vague, ideas are general, ideas are biased. But feedback are fact-based, are data-driven. So as an entrepreneur, to avoid this possible defect in your business model canvas, get as soon as you can, as precise as you can, feedback about your product and your value proposition. The second fatal flaw is unsound economics, meaning that we are not able with our business model to create a profit formula, a meaningful profit formula. So we know, because we already learned, that a profit formula is essentially a combination of four main elements. So one element is revenue, the second one is the cost structure, the third is the margins, and the final is resource velocity. So these are the elements that characterize our profit formula. If we are not able to satisfy the profit formula, then our business model will have a defect. Let's now move to the four components of a business model, the four main components of a business model. So one of them is core strategy. So under core strategy, we include the mission, we include the scope, and differentiation strategy. The second one is resources. Under resources, we include core competencies and strategic assets. Third is the partnership, all our partnerships. So we include suppliers, but also strategic partners. We will see more in details who strategic partners are, and also other relationship, for example, with the distribution network. And finally, the customer interface or customer touch points, so our customers, the pricing, and also how we reach out to our customers. So analyzing the first one, so the first one is the core strategy. So when we move deeper into the analysis of a core strategy, so this is essentially how we compete against our competitors. And here we have these three main elements. The mission statement. The mission statement is essentially the reason why a firm exists and what the firm is poised to accomplish. The product market scope. So this will include the products of a firm and how these products satisfy the demand in the market the firm is focusing on. And finally, differentiation. How the firm differentiates itself as a company through branding, how the firm differentiates its own product from competitors, and so on and so forth. Keep in mind that when we talk about branding, an easy way to identify what a brand means is to think about emotions. A brand is emotions. A brand is a way to convey some emotions to consumers. And this can be, of course, a great basis for differentiation. Now, let's move to the second bundle. The second bundle is strategic resources. So these are like all the key resources that a firm need to implement to deliver on their customer value proposition. And here we also recall some of the concepts coming from our value chain analysis. So specifically this idea of a core competencies of an organization as well as the strategic assets. So we know that a core competency is the capability of an organization, unique capability of an organization to achieve a competitive advantage. And the strategic assets are some physical assets that the company owns and that are essential to deliver on their customer value proposition. For example, the equipment, but could be also intangible assets, patents, intellectual property, customer data. These, of course, are very important for all AI-driven digital businesses, and also traditional businesses that are adding AI features, data features in their own business. So to an extent, we can say that businesses can combine their strategic resources with their core competencies. And this bundle, this combination together will define what is the competitive advantage of an organization. These again come primarily from the theory by Michael Porter. Michael Porter himself invented this idea of a sustainable competitive advantage, which basically means this competitive advantage can be sustained for a long time because it's unique and not easy to imitate. So this is probably more of an ideal than what in reality happens. So in reality, it's difficult, and especially now it's very difficult to have a sustainable competitive advantage. You can have competitive advantages, of course, but then you need at the same time to react fast to market changes. So in the past 20 years, with a role played by digital transformation, innovation management, technology revolution, so then it's really complicated for firms to have a sustainable competitive advantage. So it's more realistic that companies, and actually winning companies, do just this. So they continuously pivot. They create new competitive advantages depending on the market or industry situation. I gave you earlier an example in in a prior video on business models, I gave an example on the different core competencies of Apple and how core competencies of Apple evolve over time, because Apple reacted to an ever-changing market with many more competitors coming into the market and challenging the position of Apple. So now the best way to look at this is how to continuously innovate and create competitive advantages that can sustain the organization, rather than just find one single sustainable competitive advantage, which probably could have been possible back when Michael Porter described this theory, but it's not the case in an ever-evolving landscape of today's market. So moving to the next bundle. So the next bundle is your network of partnership. So which is also very strategic, because most organizations, including pipeline business models, so the organization that do produce in-house and they don't just orchestrate other companies, which is the case of platform business models. So even in the case of pipeline business models, the relationship with suppliers, the relationship with distributors is extremely crucial, extremely important. Consider that, for instance, 60 to 70% of a car is actually not produced by a car company, by a car maker, but is actually produced by suppliers. So when you drive your Toyota or Benz or BMW, you are driving a car that for 70% of the components is produced by someone else that is not Toyota, Benz or BMW. So this is just to give you a rough idea of importance of key partnership, importance to run the business, and even more important when it comes to innovation management, to promote innovation management in the context of an open innovation ecosystem. So what are the main stakeholders in the partnership network? Of course, the supplier, contract manufacturer, and other type of suppliers. I would like to recall here the example of Dell. Dell innovated their business model, and one crucial part was their relationship with suppliers and contract manufacturers, because Dell outsourced the entire production of laptops and PC to contract manufacturers instead of producing components in-house. Other key partnerships are related to the innovation process of a firm. So it could be, like with research centers, could be with universities, could be even some cases with competitors, could be with larger organizations, could be with incubation and accelerator centers, and so on. So all partners, potential partners that can foster innovation. I'm also going through an example of different types of partnerships. So a typical case is a joint venture. So a joint venture is when two or more companies pool resources together and then create a new jointly owned organization. A network. So a network will be configured as a hub. So it's a hub with a network around the hub position in the network, with like multiple relationships and interdependencies among all the partners in the network. Consortia. So consortia is when you partner with some other companies to do a project together. For example, like a consortium to do an infrastructure project together. Strategic alliance is when you find some like-minded partners, and even though you don't have any cross-shareholder, cross-ownership, but still you work strategically together to deliver your customer value proposition. Finally, trade association, industry association, so these are more like Chamber of Commerce as well. So these are more like type of association where you can find all the key leaders in your industry. You can share knowledge, you can share technical expertise, and potentially you can enter in touch with potential suppliers, with potential distributors, partners, and so on. Another role of trade association, chamber of commerce, industry association is to lobby for new regulation, lobby the government to pass some legislation that can help the industry specifically. So this is a more political role that this type of association can implement. The final bundle which we are studying from the business model is customer touchpoint or customer interface. So how you interact with your customers, which could be completely online. That's the case of Amazon or Alibaba, or could be both hybrid through bookstores or online, or could be only brick and mortar, so only offline. Here, what we need to prioritize are our target customers, the fulfillment and support and service to the customer, and the pricing. So the target market is type of customers that we are serving or that we try to serve. Fulfillment is how we reach out to our customers in the channels, the distribution channels. For example, like a typical distribution channel will be appointing distributors. Distributors are companies that are distributing goods, that they purchase goods from a producer and then they distribute goods. And generally, a distributor will distribute to a retailer, and then the retailer will sell to consumers. So this is, for example, the typical value chain that you will find in food or beverage products. Food manufacturing company then selling the product to a distributor, and then the distributor will sell to retailers, and the retailers then we will sell to consumers. So this is, as you can see, a quite long value chain. Here you can also need to keep in mind customer support. So customer support to your distributors, but also customer support to the end users. So which of course respond to different type of needs, but they are equally important. And final interface of a customer with final interface of a company with the customers is of course the pricing. Depending on the profit formula, depending on the market, and competition and so on. So these are the four main bundles, the four main components of a business model. So let's now recap for a moment on the importance of this business model, and also how business model can tell us about scalability in business success. So first of all, the importance of business model. So a business model is important because it helps us structure a business and look at a business in a holistic way. In this enhance our chances to construct a successful business when we have a more holistic, more comprehensive view. A business model also enables us to see all the stakeholders that interact with our organization. So of course, we have a strong focus on our customers, on how we can get a job done for our customers, but at the same time, we need to keep in mind all the stakeholders, from partners to suppliers to distributors, that interact, work along with our organization. And the business model captures all these relationships as well. In business models, especially combined with value chain analysis for pipeline businesses, so this is essential to identify how a company creates value, how a company monetizes, where the margins are, what are the core competencies of an organization. So to conclude, the final question, which we would like to know when we create our business model, and this I think is probably the question that all entrepreneurs will ask themselves. when they define their business model is, will the business be profitable? Will the business be scalable? And to answer this question, so we need to get back to the three main principles of a business model. So we need to get back to the customer value proposition, the CVP. We need to get back to the profit formula, and finally to key resources and key processes. So if we use these three principles, the three foundational elements of a business model, then we can answer this $1 million question. So what we learned is that successful business models have an exceptionally strong customer value proposition, and we also use key resources and key processes in a stable and scalable way, with all elements of a business model being intertwined together, complementing together. So this is what you need to create a successful business. And what is really crucial is the interdependence of all the components of a business model, and primarily the interdependence of the customer value proposition, the profit formula, and key resources and key processes. In case there are changes to these elements, and of course there will be changes because businesses need constantly to change, to adapt, to react, to steer digital transformation. So this will affect the business model. So every time that you are transforming your business, you also need to make sure that all the combination, the interdependency of the elements that our business model is made of are in a smooth and cohesive way, are enhanced, and still all these elements work well together, and there is a strong connection and a strong interdependency between all these elements. So strong customer value proposition, stable and scalable system through key resources, key processes, and of course a strong profit formula. So these are the key to use a business model for success and further scalability. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye!